Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
My fellow Americans, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. I will confess out of the gate today. I'm going to be very open and honest with you. I normally am. I keep very little from you except stuff kind of behind the curtain in radio. This is one of those days where we feel like we're in a groundhog cycle. And I say we, not for the royal we, but because y'all do too. You wake up and the headlines are exactly the same. So in real time, I'm just shaking up the show. And I want to begin with a news clip that came to me no more than 5 minutes ago, and it is a perfect jumping off point for everything I want to talk about. We need to talk about our collective psychic break with reality and the need for some people, a lot of people, to actually go touch some grass and be grounded in the real world. Now, do you know, as an aside, I find it very hilariously ironic. I saw an ad yesterday for a shoe. So, you know what? So I have bad heels. This is way too much information for you. But I have bones giant, like visibly you can see through my skin, the back of my heel bone spurs. And I am in constant pain. I never am not in pain. They have just gotten bad. And what really set them off of all things is about a year ago, I jumped rope in the gym, and that was the day, if I could put my finger on a calendar, that was the day where the pain started, and it's never stopped since. And I've gone through the physical therapy and the stretching, all this stuff. So I keep upgrading shoes, and every 6 months or so I change my shoes. And I really like Brooks, and people are telling me go to Hoka's. Hoka's are even better. The Hoka's are ugly. I don't want the big branding on the side that says Hoka. So anyway, this is all related to touching grass, I promise. There was an ad on Instagram I saw of a new shoe that claims to be grounded. You see, there's a large body of research out there now that walking barefoot in the grass actually has healing properties. And this is beyond the homeopathic therapies out there, actually a growing body of scientific evidence that for reasons I don't quite understand, walking barefoot in grass does something to ground you. And now there's a shoe out that allegedly has some grounding mechanism to replicate you walking barefoot. I'm like, what a scam. Of course it's online. Now, I say all the time, people who are too online need to touch grass, and here comes a shoe that says, you actually know the shoe will ground you in the same way, and it's an online ad, of course. Now, this gets me to this wild video. This is from South Florida. Of course, it's from South Florida. I'm going to play you a little bit of this. This is from a Miami TV station down there. Listen to this.
Late posers, Craig and Belkis, wannabe diplomats. It's how they could be described from Sunny Isles police, who dealt with this couple not once but twice in a situation you could say is an only in South Florida type deal. Watch.
This is why you have to become a non-citizen national, so you don't have to worry about paying taxes and you get your business right.
But her business wasn't right when she was brought to Miami-Dade jail. Only 7 news cameras were there as Cecilia Mercado was taken in. After this,
I'll see you in court.
the 32-year-old North Miami Beach woman was yanked from her driver's seat Tuesday by Sunny Isles cops after making an illegal turn and for having bogus plates, police said.
They are not fake. They are completely registered to my private trust and my vehicle.
That's Mercado after getting out of jail.
Her immunity is 100% authentic.
And that's her boyfriend.
Just bring your supervisor now.
The passenger and videographer Tuesday during his girlfriend's arrest.
They have no jurisdiction over you. She is not a United States citizen.
Fresh off Mercado's bond out Wednesday, the couple took another ride as they left TGK in this Mercedes Maybach. And before they could get home from jail, they were stopped by Sunny Isles police again, with the man who drove them getting hauled off in cuffs. Cops tell us that Maybach had fake diplomatic plates, just as they say Mercado did Tuesday.
We can stop there. So these fine people, apparently from New York, as I understand it, who are now in Florida, faked diplomatic immunity and claimed to be citizens of something other than the United States. You know, this is an online trend of people where people, through the series of tubes known as the internet, have convinced themselves and each other that they can essentially give up their citizenship of the United States, and instead of declaring citizenship somewhere else, they declare their citizenship to themselves or a trust or of the world. And these people conjured up diplomatic tags that they registered in the name of their trust and their diplomats and think they're above the law and can behave accordingly. You will not be surprised to learn that on the back of, I think it was the Maybach, the Mercedes Maybach, very expensive car. These people have a lot of money, clearly. That on the back of one of the cars is the Instagram tag to follow the person. You know, I see this trend around a lot, kids these days. In fact, I was behind a kid in McDonald's drive-thru. I was picking up chicken nuggets for my son the other day, and there was a kid who had an Instagram tag. And so I was curious. The line was like, he was a giant F350 or so. And I pull it up, and kid is growing marijuana. So I guess it's actually his drug dealer tag. But you see this all around these days of people who are just, they're internet famous. So one of the arguments against TikTok that I saw, hilarious. This is an actual statement from someone online, Med Gold, at Universal Mediterranean Aesthetics, Thin Arms Nationalist. That's the person's, that's how they describe themselves. Banning TikTok is a wild move. First, the legislation doesn't actually ban TikTok. Kids with millions of followers aren't going to just jump over to YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and start building a new following from scratch. Their TikTok is their identity. For some, it's been their entire childhood and adolescence. That's a perfect reason why you need to ban TikTok. If TikTok has become some kid's identity, they have found their identity through a third party controlled by China. All of the bat poop crazy ideas that are out there today. Oh, people need to go touch grass. Forget the healing properties of it. You need to get offline. Yesterday, a conservative talk show host started circulating, just pulling stuff out of his butt that Ken Buck, member of Congress who resigned, clearly they must have blackmail on him. There must be some deep state evidence against him. And then all of a sudden you saw all these other people say, oh, you know what? This must be right. You're just pulling stuff out of thin air to be sensational, to pretend you have some sort of super secret knowledge. Now, this gets me to the very old thing, and this is related to the book that I'm writing, You Shall Be as Gods, Gnosticism. The Gnostics believed that there was this secret system, this secret knowledge. And if you had the secret knowledge, you actually had the real path to eternal life. And they said the early Gnostics were heretics off of Christianity. They started in about 100 AD after the death of the Apostle John. When he was no longer around, they sprung up. The last of the apostles had died. They sprung up with this secret knowledge. And what they claimed is that, this guy Jesus, he was actually a philosopher who knew the secret to eternal life. And it wasn't the open stuff you read about from the apostles. There's a secret path. And if you can follow this secret path of knowledge, you too shall gain the secrets of the universe. And we see this online now. So many people go online in search of the truth. Surely the guy in Charleston, South Carolina, worked for Boeing. He had to have been assassinated, because that makes so much more sense than the fact that he ate a bullet on his own. Surely you can't believe he committed suicide, because it's so obvious. This guy on the internet has strung everything together for me. He's got the super secret knowledge. And that ultimately is what's happening right now. Is nobody really likes egalitarianism. Nobody really likes equality. Everybody wants an edge on everybody else. Everybody's got a little bit of a hustle in them. So they want to follow the people online who can give them the Gnostic truth, that the super secret truth that can string all the strings together and make the world make sense, the conspiracies, because nothing makes sense. You know why nothing makes sense? Nothing makes sense because 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we had 3-4 TV channels. And then you got 200 TV channels. And then you got a 24-hour news cycle. And the 24-hour news cycle channels needed to keep feeding you information and coming back and getting you to come back. So they kept adding news and twisting truth and started realizing that they could keep you coming back for more by telling you stories. It's the success of Fox. It's the success of MSNBC, is they tell you a story. They align you to a group of good guys against a group of bad guys. They don't just give you the news of the day. They give you the narrative. It's us versus them. And you're on one side and you go back to your team regularly. And it makes the world make sense. And you can see the world in this new light. And it's all a little bit of Gnosticism thrown into all of it. As opposed to the world's not that deeply interesting. There are lots of things happening in the world that are completely unrelated. Sometimes there are coincidences, and sometimes it's just not that complicated. Sometimes it's more complicated than you think. And what you find with these people online is that they want to take the really complex things and they want to make them simple, and they want to take the simple things and they want to make them complex. And by revealing the secret truths to you, you come tuning back in for the wild conspiracy theories of how all the people you hate are up against you. Now, this jumps me directly back to the TikTok situation. Because here's what's happening. The number of people on the right coming out and say, well, why should we ban TikTok? After all, our government spies on us. Why should we ban TikTok? After all, the left is using government to target us. This is where touching grass comes in. You may not realize it. You may not understand it. You may not be able to process it because you're so broken by your addiction to the internet. But while you and I can say all sorts of things about the left in the United States and how bad they may be in policies and how some of them actually do hate the country, some of them really are evil. There are some on the right who are too. Whatever it is about them, they're in the United States of America and they do not possess nuclear weapons. China wants to end the United States of America as we know it. Do you know that the Chinese have been implicated in actually trying to blackmail candidates running for office in this country to pull them out of races? And in one case, it worked. One guy running for Congress, the Chinese threatened him. He got out of the race. In Canada, it's now been exposed that the Chinese actually poured money into Canadian elections to back particular candidates who were sympathetic to the Chinese, and they did it through a back door. Justin Trudeau's government tried to censor the information because most of them were in his administration and in his side of parliament. But it's true. The Chinese actually tried to steer elections in this country and in Canada. And look at the information they control on TikTok. This is far different from the progressives you hate in this country. There are categorical differences. There's a category of American progressive who hates you and wants to end you. There is a category of this nuclear-powered communist nation that actually runs genocidal Holocaust-like camps against certain groups of people and wants to do the same here. Good Lord, people. And then there's Eric Swalwell, who was caught bang-bang with the fang-fang. Y'all, the Chinese are a different order of magnitude from your local American progressive. Get out and touch some grass. Not everything is a conspiracy. Not everything is some deeply woven deep state plot. Not everything is about our government getting control over you so that they can control the information. Tulsi Gabbard, who is just a political hack online, is saying, oh, this is about controlling the information. The government wants to control the information you see. No, it's about China wants to control the information you see on TikTok, where this idiot Med Gold Online is saying TikTok has become the identity of our kids and it would be bad to get it away. That's precisely why you wanted to get away. And it's not all about TikTok. It is about the insanity of the American public these days who spend all of their time online, don't know their next door neighbor, are prone to believe conspiracy theories because they want an extra edge over their neighbors. They want to know the secret Gnostic knowledge of surviving in America. You got the idiots who declare themselves diplomats online to avoid the law, and they've gotten all of this stuff from online. The internet has driven society insane. Maybe the EMP pulse from Russia taking out our electronics wouldn't be such a bad thing after all. People have got to go touch some grass.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. Let me play you some audio real quick. This is Steve Mnuchin. He was the Treasury Secretary for Donald Trump. Kind of fell off the radar a little bit, but he is back and wants to buy TikTok.
Well, let me first say, I don't think this should be controlled by any of the big U.S. tech companies. I think there could be antitrust issues on that, and this should be something that's independent, so we have a real competitor, and users love it, so it shouldn't be shut down. The technology, I won't go into all the details, but the app needs to be rebuilt in the U.S. It needs to be U.S. technology. I think there's a lot that could be done in 6 months, but I would work closely with the U.S. and with China.
Yeah, he wants to rebuild it. He wants to make it U.S. tech friendly. He wants to buy it. This legislation that passed the House of Representatives did not have a lot of opposition. When's the last time Congress has done something with such little opposition other than name a post office? And now headed to the U.S. Senate and looks like it may have 60 votes to overcome a filibuster. TikTok was completely caught off guard on it, and the White House says they will sign it. Which is good. By the way, they're saying, if that Twitter is next, or X they call it now. I refuse to call it X. It's Twitter. It's actually not true. That's a lie. If you hear it, this is one of the Chinese propaganda talking points that even, frankly, a lot of libertarians are picking up. It is simply not true. How do I know it? The text of the law. I don't trust the government of the United States, but I do trust the law. If you don't trust the law, you should think the Supreme Court just put Donald Trump back on the ballot because of the law. The law in this country is still pretty good, even as government itself sucks, and the law specifically only applies to Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran and companies that they control. So just let's live in the real world, folks, where it's a fact-based world. Now, one of the groups that has actually come out in favor of the TikTok legislation is Americans for Prosperity. Glad to have them in on this fight. They're in so many fights, including right now Bidenomics. I chuckle every time I think about this. Americans for Prosperity went out and bought the domain Bidenomics.com to educate Americans about how bad Biden's economic policies are. It is remarkable to me that the Democrats did not go snap up the domain, even if to keep it from the right. And yet Americans for Prosperity bought it. And you can go to Bidenomics.com and you can see the things Joe Biden says, and next to it, the actual reality of the statement. So he says, for example, inflation is down, and the reality is actually inflation is up and prices are up. He says all this garbage, and he just makes it up. It is a wealth of information about how the Bidenomics have screwed up America. Joe Biden's team has screwed up America. Bidenomics.com, brought to you by Americans for Prosperity. It really is worth sharing that website with your friends.
This episode is made possible by PwC. When unprecedented times are all the time, it's time to start walking the talk. Leaders like you turn to PwC to see and stay ahead. Upskill your workforce. use intelligent automation, and transform big ideas into breakthrough outcomes. Explore the human-led, tech-powered solutions that help you thrive. It's all part of The New Equation. Learn more at thenewequation.com.
Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, well, what do we have here? Buddy of mine just sent me this text. This is kind of wild, actually. The EPA has this requirement. It's on their website. Not making this up. This is from the Environmental Protection Agency. For construction projects funded in whole or in part by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law or the Inflation Reduction Act through the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, recipients must place a sign at construction sites that display the Investing in America emblem and identify the project as a, quote, project funded by President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law, or project funded by President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. The sign must be in an easily visible location that can be directly linked to the work taking place and must be maintained in good condition throughout the construction period. Below are PDF files of these signs that are print ready, as well as templates that can be customized to include the logo of a partner organization. Please select the appropriate sign and select your preferred background. This is incredible propaganda. If you want access to public funds in the United States of America, you must tout Joe Biden's name in the project. Now, we got to keep this intellectually honest. Got to keep it intellectually honest. And I was one of the people who complained about it then, and I was told, you're never Trump. That's why you're complaining. I thought when you got the checks from Donald Trump when he was president, they had his name on them, that too was inappropriate. And here's why I philosophically am opposed to stuff like this. I nearly said a bad word there. Stuff. We'll say it that way. When you travel to third world countries that are run by despots, their pictures are everywhere. All the murals of the leaders. Go to North Korea, you'll be stunned how many pictures you see of Kim Jong-un's family. Go to third world hellholes in Africa or the Caribbean, same thing. It's really actually remarkable how the dictators advertise themselves. Whenever there's a works project, whenever there's something good, there's going to be the smiling face. And, you know, to some degree, Barack Obama was doing this stuff, too. When he was president, he was really the trendsetter for this stuff. It goes back to his administration, and it's just gross to me. It strikes of a third world kleptocracy. Whether it's Trump or Obama or Biden, it's not something that we have done in this country. But now everything is always a campaign mode. It's just gross to require a company to put up a sign saying Joe Biden did that. Now, hilariously, this could actually backfire the way these projects are going with the Biden administration. The Biden administration is pouring all these resources into building charging stations that aren't getting built, building bridges that aren't actually being completed, this massive infrastructure boondoggle around the nation that the Biden administration is collaborating in, and none of it's actually getting built very well. Putting Joe Biden's sign up and saying Joe Biden's to blame for this. Actually, there could be some deep irony and hilarious punchlines that come out of this. But it's still gross to me that in order to get funds from the federal government, you've got to put up a sign saying they come from Joe Biden. Might as well come from Idi Amin or Vladimir Putin, or pick your weirdo dictator. Next thing we're going to find out, Joe Biden isn't just a pervy 80-year-old who wants to talk about the sex life of his staffers, but is also a cannibal or something. It's gross. But, you know, this is par for the course, the grossness of the Democrats. Kamala Harris, and this was actually what I was going to start the show with today. Kamala Harris has decided to campaign in an abortion clinic in Minnesota. Of course, it's Minnesota. Kamala Harris is going to be the first national candidate, first vice presidential or presidential candidate ever to campaign in an abortion clinic. The Democrats are going to wrap themselves up in abortion. She's secretly hoping that's what happens to Joe Biden. Be post-birth, but the Democrats are fine with that now. Very post-birth, but that's okay. Marbles on the steps at the White House will do it. Won't even need a vacuum cleaner. The Democrats have decided that this is what they're gonna do. This is how they're gonna tie themselves to the American public. It's a great issue with women. You know, the data for the Democrats is somewhat misinterpreted when it comes to women. You know, married women actually pretty consistently vote Republican. It's single women who vote Democrat. Single women. Big Democratic advocates, and abortion, their big issue, and the beta males of America who live in the shadows of their aggressive feminist wives and comfortable shoes, or partners, I should say. Rarely do they want to get shackled to marriage. The beta males who stand behind their partners in comfortable shoes, that they love abortion as well. They want lack of responsibility. You know, there's a growing movement of men who love abortion because they want to have sex and not have the responsibility that comes from it, and so might as well kill the kid. What's remarkable here to me is that it is the Democratic Party that has gone all in on the culture of death here. Because it was the Democrats who, their policies led to the Civil War. And if you actually pay attention to it, the arguments for abortion are the exact same arguments for slavery. Oh, you don't believe me? It's my body. I can do with it as I want. It's my property. I can do with it as I want. It's not really a human. It's quasi-human. If you don't want a slave, you don't have to have a slave, or a baby for that matter, or an abortion for that matter. It's remarkable. Every argument you use to defend abortion rights in the United States of America is an argument that the Confederates used prior to the Civil War to justify slavery. Every single one. And the Democratic Party was that party. The Democratic Party is this party. Now they got the first black female vice president of the United States going to an abortion mill to champion the right to kill what they believe is just a choice between a woman and her doctor, or a slave owner and the auctioneer. It's just remarkable. Also, this is kind of, they're able to do this because the Republicans are the dog that caught the car. When you think about it, the Republicans caught the car. They didn't expect to catch the car as quickly as they did, being the dog that caught the car. The Republicans were able to get rid of Roe v. Wade, thanks in large part to a guy you all hate. And I do find this deeply ironic and hilarious that conservatives, I've always been a critic of Mitch McConnell. I did meet him for the first time, spoke to him, last Monday. And I'd always been a critic of McConnell's. Oh, and he remembered, by the way, all of my criticisms. Guy is sharper than Joe Biden. And he knows when to quit. But thanks to Mitch McConnell, who was able to rush Amy Coney Barrett and got rid of the judicial filibuster for the Supreme Court and the like, we've got a Supreme Court majority that got rid of Roe v. Wade. And the Republican dog caught the car and has been getting run over by it ever since without a solution. The solution for the GOP is to follow Glenn Youngkin's path. Now, Youngkin and the Republicans wound up not winning the legislature. In fact, they lost seats and they lost the state house in Virginia. But it was an abortion, and even the Democrats know they can't spin it as an abortion fight because it was Republican voters, yet again, didn't do early voting. Democrats did. Youngkin put enormous resources into getting Republicans to turn out to vote and still couldn't get Republicans to turn out to vote the way he needed them to. This, by the way, you should understand is why the Democrats are convinced they're going to win in November, because you've still got Donald Trump out there campaigning against early voting. In fact, I was talking to a guy yesterday, he's a Republican activist, and he was venting his frustration that in his county here in Georgia, the Republican Party, when he raised the issue of early voting and getting out the vote, looked at him incredulously and said, we all go vote on Election Day. That's going to cost the Republicans the November election if they don't start voting early and voting by absentee. It really is, and they can say it's not, but that singularly is the thing that'll cost the GOP the election. And that's what cost the Republicans elections in Virginia and cost them the state legislature. It wasn't abortion. In fact, the GOP in Virginia neutralized the abortion issue by supporting a 15-week ban. Now, if you'll recall, just 2 weeks ago, France put abortion rights into their constitution. What the media left out of the conversation is it's a 13-week ban. After 13 weeks, no abortions in France. First 13 weeks, plenary abortions. Anybody can get an abortion. You want an abortion, get an abortion. You're not even pregnant, get an abortion. They'll give you an abortion in France. They love abortion. They love to kill them babies in France, but only for the first 13 weeks. After that, no. In this country, Republicans have kind of gravitated towards a 15-week ban, which is more progressive than France. And yet the Democrats who champion France putting abortion rights in their constitution are now opposed to a 15-week ban in this country because they think you should be able to kill that baby until the moment it leaves the hospital. It is a choice between a woman and her doctor, and the kid's not strong enough to lift the pillow over its head anyway, so no big deal. Survival of the fittest, baby. Just like the slaves. Just kind of remarkable. The Democrats have totally bought into this cult of death on climate change, on abortion rights. I mean, it's one of the reasons they love transgenderism is because you just get a bunch of kids to sterilize themselves. They say puberty blockers are temporary, except we know there's ample research that if you start taking puberty blockers, it pretty much will sterilize you. You're not going to have a kid later in life once you've taken your temporary puberty blockers. If you've gone off of them, sorry, damage done. And if not, you can always have a hysterectomy or a castration. Democrats are totally into this, eliminating the population. They are all on board. What a compelling message. You got to put up your sign in front of the abortion clinic that the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a climate change piece of legislation, supported. And, of course, they're going to fund the abortion clinics because that impacts climate change when you have no people. And you got to make sure everybody knows President Biden paid for it. It is a sick, sick culture. You know, side note, I have a lot of friends who, in churches across this country, who are really perturbed about having to vote for Donald Trump. They don't really want to. But concurrently, they want to stop Joe Biden, and they understand there's only one way to do it, and it's not voting for Robert Kennedy. There are going to be a lot of people who make a lot of hard choices come November, and of course they'll be shamed and bullied by the Democrats if they make the choice the Democrats don't want them to make, because the Democrats are famous for making people care. You will be made to care about these issues from the left, but I don't think it's going to stop people. I think the Democrats, they're playing with fire on this issue. They are convinced that Americans are actually very pro-abortion, and frankly, I think they're right. But Democrats and Republicans both have a habit of pushing the issue too far. And having a vice president of the United States campaign from an abortion clinic where death happens probably pushes too far. Probably pushes too far. And the arguments that she will make in favor of abortion rights, the first black vice president of the United States, her arguments will sound like the Confederate slaveholders of the 1800s. After all, it's your property. You should be able to do with it as you will. Now, I got to tell you about Old Glory Bank, a bank run by conservative pro-lifers, no less, who want you to be able to bank with a bank that's not going to give your information to the feds, that's not going to cancel your account because they don't like who you are, who you do business with, and it's not going to block you from transacting and doing business the way you want to do business, which some banks and credit unions have started putting blocks on your account. You're not allowed to buy guns through your account, things like that, or support conservative causes. Not with Old Glory. You're always going to be protected. They have a banking bill of rights you can see at oldglorybank.com. Not only that, what I love about Old Glory Bank and the reason my kids have their checking and savings with them is there are no fees. You get a checking and a savings account, and your bank is not going to eat up your fees. Oldglorybank.com. It's a great bank. It's an online bank. They have great online bill pay, and one of the glorious, genius things they have now is that you can actually take your physical cash to 85,000 retail locations around the country, and you can deposit through the retail location into Old Glory Bank. So you drop off your cash. Like in my case, there's a CVS by my house that participates, and I can take my kids' babysitting earnings and drop them off there with the cashier, and there's a little bit of paperwork you fill out, and the money goes into my kids' account. It's great. Really great. And you know what? There are more of those locations. There are local bank branches these days around the country. Oldglorybank.com. You can even do loans through them. I mean, it's a real bank, and they're good people, and they share your values. Oldglorybank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. I got to play you some audio that happened a short time ago on the floor of the United States Senate. This is Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York.
Lifelong supporter.
Let me rewind. Here we go.
The fourth major obstacle to peace is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. As a lifelong supporter of Israel, it has become clear to me the Netanyahu coalition no longer fits the needs of Israel after October 7th. The world has changed radically since then, and the Israeli people are being stifled right now by a governing vision that is stuck in the past. 5 months into this conflict, it is clear that Israelis need to take stock of the situation and ask, must we change course? At this critical juncture, I believe a new election is the only way to allow for a healthy and open decision-making process about the future of Israel.
Is this election interference? It sounds like election interference to me. Sounds like tampering in the politics of another country, Chuck Schumer, something you're upset about the Russians trying to do in this country? It's absurd. By the way, I don't know if you understand this or not, but the Israeli government right now is in a wartime coalition, the minority and majority together, standing together in solidarity over this issue and the war and fighting Hamas. There's actually a great bit of unity in Israel right now over the situation. In fact, I was watching my favorite show the other day, Somebody Feed Phil. I love that show. It's on Netflix. And he was interviewing a couple, and they were from Israel. And the guy gave up. He was a foreign diplomat for Israel, and he resigned because he didn't want to work for the Netanyahu government. And I just was curious and Googled, and nope, these folks are supportive of Israel. They may not like Netanyahu, but Netanyahu is now leading a multi-party coalition in a war. There will come a time for elections in Israel. He can't hold on to power forever. But for the Senate Majority Leader to claim that Netanyahu is somehow an obstacle right now, no, you know who the obstacle is? Hamas. Hamas, as Joe Biden himself admitted unintentionally, Hamas, to the extent they were calling for ceasefires, it's just to regroup, reestablish, and stockpile arms. And don't forget all the hostages. All Hamas has to do is get rid of the hostages. You would think Chuck Schumer could go to the floor of the Senate and note that, as opposed to calling for the leader of the government of Israel to resign as some sort of obstacle to peace. The obstacle to peace is Hamas that murdered a bunch of people. Absolutely insane. This hour of the program is brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan nationwide. You buying a building, buying a franchise, buying a business competitor, reach out to First Liberty. They might be able to help you. They make their own lending decisions, and they're good people. FirstLibertyGA.com. Get all your information there on how to contact them. FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com. Tell them I sent you. When we come back, you might have heard that there's something happening in Haiti. I would like to discuss with you what exactly is going on in Haiti, because it is not good, and we could and probably should be doing more as a country. And a lot of them are on boats headed this way. Ron DeSantis summoning people to block them from entry. I'll give you the details, the updates, and tell you what all you need to know about the situation in Haiti.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.